As you get deeper and deeper into your handstand practice, this becomes your goal, the one arm handstand. So today I'm going to take you through a very simplistic way of working towards it. Now, what are the prerequisites? What are the things we need to be able to do before we start to work on that one arm handstand? So number one is to have a very consistent handstand. So be able to kick up to a freestanding, hold, show control, come back down again whenever you want to. So a very consistent catch. Then we want to have a hold time of at least 45, 60 seconds, again, whenever you want to. So just be able to hold here, whether it's a bad handstand balance day, whether it's a good handstand balance day, we should be able to hold in this position for 45, 60, 90 seconds, no problem. So again, very consistent, 45 to 90 second hold. We need to understand and have a very strong straddle handstand that stays as one segment. So we don't want a straddle handstand that's all over the place and the body's collapsing. We need it to be locked into position. So it's part of the torso, it's part of the balance, it's part of the one segment piece that we're eventually going to use to go into the one arm handstand holds. So understanding how your flexibility, your strength, your control, your balance locks into your straddle handstand. So you're not copying anyone else's, your position might look slightly different. In terms of how piked it is, how much the hips sit backwards in the position, and how much split or how wide you are. But making it very, very consistent is very important. And then a strong tuck handstand. So the tuck handstand position is an awesome exercise, awesome position that strengthens and conditions the upper back, the traps, the big muscles up the back here that are so important to stabilize and control the scapula, the shoulder blades. When we're holding a one arm handstand, we need that strength and control all around the shoulder because you're balancing in 360 degrees, not just forward and backwards towards overbalance and underbalance like a two arm handstand. Now, once we're close to or have these, the next thing is understanding the flag, the side bend. So to balance on one hand, we're going to have this straddle position because the straddle position is the easiest position to first learn the one arm in. So we've got that locked into position, and then we need to tilt over to one side. Now there's a certain amount of flag that needs to happen, so bringing the leg towards the arm and closing down on that torso position, but it really is just about a side bend or a weight shift over towards the working side. So now I'm shifting over here, I've tilted the body over at this angle. That's much better than doing this. If I do this, I tend to fall sideways. So we want to actually tilt the body into itself to create more of a stable position, a stronger foundation that's coming down on top of the base. So exactly the same, when we're on our hands in that position, we need to bring the side down. I'm also pushing the shoulder and elbow towards the middle. So this shoulder and elbow is going that direction as I flag down or come down with the leg and bring the other leg up in the air. So learning that in the straddle position is very important. And we just need to get better at that tilting, side bending if we want to call it that. But don't overly worry about a tight side bend. Just think we're going down on one side, up with the top leg, and be able to do it side to side like this. Everyone again is going to look completely different in terms of how split they are and how much flexibility they're using. In some ways it's much easier if you're much more flexible, and in some ways it's harder because you have more to deal with because everything's moving around more. So I've been thinking about two things there. Number one, repetitions. So just moving side to side, not worrying about how deep you're going, just focusing on being able to get that top leg to go up, the bottom leg to come down, and just alternate sides. And then number two, we can work on the depth. Now the depth is really useful to use a target. Now I'm going to use these aren't the best because they have a very small surface area, so they're harder to hit. A bigger box would be better that I can adjust the height on. But the goal here is to go into your straddle position, and then I'm just going to touch the target and then go over to the other side and touch the target and come back again. Obviously the lower I go, the harder that's going to be. So we have reps. So if you could go like 5 to 10 repetitions, so be able to show control and just move around there. And then we have depth, so using the target. But think of those as separate things. We want to be able to do both, slowly improve the repetitions, slowly improve the depth that we can get to. And then we can go into the actual training of the one arm handstand. Now a really good way to do this is just to use time. So I've got a position that I can go to in terms of the progressions of the one arm handstand that I can hold for 30 seconds. I've got a position that I can go to that I can hold for 10. Then I've got a position I can go to that I can hold for 5. So obviously this one's going to be a much easier progression and this one's going to be a much harder progression. So if we think about the progressions in reverse order, so obviously the hardest version is to do this, is to lift this hand up fully in the air and be balancing directly on top of this one all the time. But obviously this is going to be too hard to start in this position, but we need to set up as close to this as possible for the assistance exercises. You want to be always as close to the real thing as you can with good quality. If not, you become an expert of the assistant exercises and not be able to do the real thing. So if I'm in this one arm handstand position here, both shoulders ideally are in a level position. So I don't have this shoulder up in the air, it's level with this shoulder. This elbow is pushed in towards the midline, so we don't want to be like this. There, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to take one finger to the floor. So that finger that's helping me could be there, it could be out to the side. Now this one is actually seen as being easier because the base of support is longer. So most people are going to be here because it's in line with the hands. So there is helping me just a little bit. So either fingernail or actually finger, and then I can go 2 fingers, I can go 3 or 4 fingers in that position, and then I can put the thumb down. But when I'm doing that, I'm trying to still maintain this position and be on top of this hand as much as I can. So this is just helping me just enough to hold for the time. Now easier from there is to put the palm all the way down, but look, I've still shifted on top of this hand. This is just helping me again. And then we come back to the normal 2-arm handstand position. So if we're looking at that 30 seconds, the 10 seconds and the 5 seconds, we just need to see which progression we can do for that amount of time. So if I go into 30 seconds, most people when they're starting out are going to open to their straddle and then they're going to shift over a little bit. Now as I shift, I'm also looking down towards the thumb or the index finger or between those two things. So I'm taking my eyesight to here because my intention is all about getting on top of this hand. So even when I shift a little bit, do that flag type movement and hold, I'm looking at that hand. I've still got lots of weight in this left hand, but my intention is going across to the right hand. The same if I move over to the other side, elbow still pulling in towards the midline, I'm still looking at the left hand, but I've still got lots of weight on the right side. So that's probably going to be the hold position for your 30 seconds to start with. Now, obviously we have 2 sides, so we want to do 30 seconds on one side, 30 seconds on the other side. Now, most people are going to struggle too much to be able to do 30 seconds here and then move over to 30 seconds there. So we're probably going to have to split them apart. 30 seconds on one side, 30 seconds on the other side. And then the other thing you're going to run into is you're going to have a strong side and a weak side. My right side, one arm is so much better than my left side. So the progressions I'm doing are very different left to right. Now, as I progress that and go into the 10-second holds, again, I might be in my straddle, I might shift across, but now I might be able to go up onto fingertips. Now notice when I'm going onto fingertips that my shoulders are still in line. I'm not doing that. I'm not lifting this shoulder up too much higher than this shoulder because what it will do is it will start to cartwheel you out to the side. So the goal is to maintain the quality, the shoulder position when you go up onto fingertips. So you hold there for the 10 seconds and then you come down, do the same on the other side. Remember, take a break if you need to, and the progression might not be so far as the good side. And then ideally come back to center, show control, come back down. Now, as you progress through those progressions and start to go to more the 5-second holds or the more advanced progressions, there's 2 things you really need to focus on. So number 1, we need to be bringing the elbow and the shoulder in towards the middle, not letting that go out to the side. We don't want this to happen. And then I'm going to fall out to the side because my base is crumbling down like that. We need to maintain that structure, so keeping the straddle as one segment in line with the torso, or at least as part of the torso. There will be flagging, there will be moving over, but it needs to be connected. We can't have the legs moving around. We definitely don't want the top leg separating from the bottom leg. Now that often happens when I push the limits too much. So if I'm in this position, go over to here, but I want to go to fingertips, I might try and take this top leg over separately to try and pull myself over in that direction. And that's where you get the separation and you break down. And then as you get closer and closer to the real thing, you need to really focus on stacking 3 things. We need to have the hand, the shoulder, and the center of the hip, the sacrum, on top of each other. So if you look at that center of the hip there, we look at the shoulder and the hand, at the point they all stack. There. Now I can feel this hand is now light and I can lift it up in the air. But if one of those points is out, so if the shoulder drops in that way or that way, your tower will just fall down. So for me on a good day, my right is doing a full 1-arm handstand for 30 seconds. So the same would be seen as the 10 seconds and the 5 seconds because I'm already in a 1-arm handstand. I could go to harder variations of the 1-arm handstand, so different leg positions, but I don't want to go through those today. My left side, however, is fingertip. So fingertip hold, and then for my 10 seconds, it's either going to be fingernail or I might be doing some lifts or on a good day, a hold. and then 5 seconds is going to be a hold for my left side. So there's a big difference between my left and my right hand side. You're going to have to do the same. You're going to have to work out what yours is. So remember, these are my progressions, not yours. And then in terms of working sets per session, I would be doing 1 to 2 sets at 30 seconds, 8 to 10 sets there, and then 2 to 5 sets there. But that depends on the individual and where you are down the progression line. But for most people, we need to be focusing on here. And also remember that it's 18 months to 2 years for most people to get a 10-second one-arm handstand. I believe everyone can do it. It's just you've got to allow that amount of time, 5 or 6 sessions a week. If you'd like help with your training, check out my app, link is down in the description, or visit my website, www.paultwyman.com.au. I'll speak to you in the next one.